My name is Alara Hawthorne. I had the life everyone envied. The penthouse, the diamonds, the perfect husband. But the night the storm trapped me in a tiny, dark motel room with my chauffeur, I realized my gilded cage had a door leading straight to ruin. And for the first time in years, I wanted to walk through it. It was supposed to be a mundane routine, a short, tedious drive from a glittering charity gala in the heart of Manhattan back to my silent penthouse on the Upper East Side. Yet for me, Alara Hawthorne, every journey was a stark reminder of the isolation I couldn't escape, an isolation that all of Alastair's millions couldn't buy me out of. Draped in an emerald silk gown that clung to my body, I was the very definition of a successful entrepreneur's wife. I was Mrs. Hawthorne, the woman with the perfect smile and the shiniest collection of jewels in the entire New York social circuit. But the jewels felt like freezing chains, and my smile was a mask threatening to shatter at any moment. Downstairs at the skyscraper's entrance, the sleek black sedan waited for me. Behind the wheel was Ethan Bellwether, my private chauffeur. Ethan was a young man with composed eyes and a strong, quiet posture. He had always been the single, grounding presence amidst my world of pretense. It wasn't just a driver. He was the shadow who watched, the silent witness to my fragile beauty and the crushing loneliness beneath it. "Good evening, Mrs. Hawthorne. The rain is starting," Ethan said, his voice calm and professional as he opened the door for me. "Thank you, Ethan," I replied, my tone slightly softer than I used with anyone else that evening. I slipped into the plush leather seat, the scent of rain mingling with my expensive perfume. As the car slowly pulled away from the glittering lights, the drizzle quickly escalated into a deluge. New York, the city that never sleeps, felt suddenly choked by the unexpected storm. The roads connecting Manhattan to the outer boroughs transformed into a slow, crawling river of traffic. Horns blared incessantly, triggering a migraine that was becoming far too familiar every time I headed home. I gazed out the window, watching the city lights blur into streaks behind the curtain of water. Deep inside, I felt like I was looking at a mirror of my own life, sparkling, expensive, but ultimately hazy and cold. A vibration from my phone sliced through the tense silence. The screen displayed the name that felt so heavy: Alastair. Alastair Hawthorne, the successful property magnate, the colossal failure as a husband. A sliver of fragile hope still managed to flicker within me. Perhaps this time he'll care? "Darling, I'm completely stuck in Midtown. It's a proper storm. Can you come get me or send someone?" My voice was a soft plea, a last-ditch effort for genuine attention. His reply, as always, was a sledgehammer to that hope. "I'm still at the office, Alara. We have a massive deal closing. Don't be reckless trying to drive through that. You'll ruin the car. Just find the nearest hotel room. Or tell Ethan to handle it. I'm busy." Click. The call ended. There was no inquiry about my safety, no word of care, certainly no warmth, only a cold instruction, an order to protect his asset. I sat frozen, suppressing the hot tears that welled up. The humiliation was far worse than the traffic. Ethan glanced back, his eyes meeting mine briefly in the rearview mirror. The genuine concern in his gaze was a stark contrast to Alastair's cold dismissal. I knew he had heard the entire brutal exchange. "Mrs. Hawthorne, I agree with Mr. Hawthorne. The water level is rising dangerously. We must find shelter immediately," Ethan said, his voice measured. He was being formal, but his eyes were saying, "I see your pain." The short drive felt endless. The roads were a terrifying maze. Amidst the chaos of horns and the deafening thunder, Ethan managed to steer the car onto a quieter road away from the suffocating downtown chaos. Finally, we stopped in front of a small, nondescript building on the outskirts of Queens. A simple inn, certainly not the luxury boutique hotel I was accustomed to. Its neon sign flickered dimly, offering a vague promise of shelter. I hesitated. This is so far removed from the life I know. This is the best I could find, Mrs. Hawthorne. All other routes are blocked, and the hotels are full. Ethan explained. It's fine, Ethan, I replied. My decision was made. There was no alternative. We walked in. My silk gown felt heavy and wet. The cold seeped into my bones, originating not just from the rain, but from a heart that felt increasingly frozen. I sat on the armchair, using the rough, small towel to dry my hair, while Ethan stood near the door, maintaining the invisible yet intensely felt boundary between us. After a few minutes, Ethan left the room briefly. He returned carrying 2 small mugs of hot tea from the inn's tiny kitchen. The simple, comforting aroma of Earl Grey filled the cold air. "Drink this, Mrs. Hawthorne. It will warm you up," Ethan said, extending the mug. His hand shook slightly, as if afraid of crossing a line with the offering. I took the mug, and the warmth instantly spread through my hands. It was the warmth I desperately needed, something that Alistair's credit card could never purchase. This simple kindness from a chauffeur felt infinitely more valuable than any diamond necklace. "Thank you, Ethan," I said, offering a genuine, heartfelt smile. I sipped the tea slowly. The simple action and the genuine atmosphere loosened the knot of suppression in my chest. All the words I had held captive under layers of luxury and pretense for years suddenly spilled out. "Do you know, Ethan?" I began, my voice barely a whisper. I looked at the tea, unable to look at him directly. "That house, our penthouse, it's not a home. It's a golden cage. Beautiful, expensive, but just a prison," I confessed. Every social event, every smile I flashed, it was all empty, an exhausting performance. I gathered my courage and looked at him. Ethan was sitting on the edge of the bed, listening with intense seriousness and deep empathy. His gaze was non-judgmental. He wanted nothing from me. "I understand, Mrs. Hawthorne. Life has a strange way of showing irony," Ethan began, his gaze distant. "I work for Mr. Alistair, not because I admire his success, but because I need the paycheck for my mother. And when I look at you, I don't see the rich lady. I see a woman who has everything, but whose eyes are empty. As empty as I used to feel when I had nothing, though for different reasons." His candor was shocking, sharp, and deeply moving. The walls I had built came tumbling down swiftly. The social chasm from Manhattan to Queens suddenly felt irrelevant. We were just 2 fragile people, finding a rare moment of connection amidst a cold night and a raging storm. I knew this moment was fraught with peril. There was a line, an invisible barrier built of marriage vows, loyalty, and professional ethics that I shouldn't cross. But the harder I tried to resist, the more the curiosity and yearning grew. Why does the warmth I find in this stranger feel truer than anything I've received from my husband in years? The atmosphere in the room grew heavy. The storm outside intensified. The wind howling and continuous flashes of lightning illuminated the room. Crack! A massive lightning strike hit nearby, and instantly the power failed. Total darkness enveloped the room, only briefly broken by the frantic flashes outside. The storm's roar sounded like a monster about to devour us. I gasped softly. It was a primal, spontaneous reaction. Without thinking, I reached out and instinctively grasped Ethan's hand, which was resting close to me on the edge of the bed. His hand was cold, slick with nervous sweat, but his grip Oh, his grip was incredibly warm, calming, and simultaneously terrifyingly dangerous. I knew the touch was wrong, a huge mistake, but I couldn't bring myself to let go. "It's all right, Mrs. Hawthorne. I'm here," Ethan whispered, his voice almost swallowed by the storm's noise. That simple sentence, a promise of protection amid the chaos, made my chest tremble violently. I had yearned for such genuine reassurance for so long. We sat in long silence, holding hands in the dark. My heart hammered wildly, matching the rhythm of the thunder. I knew I should pull away. I was Alistair's wife. He was just my driver. That dividing wall, which should have been insurmountable, had crumbled. I turned my head, trying to make out his face in the darkness. His expression was a portrait of internal conflict. "Ma'am, this is wrong. I am only your driver. I respect your husband," Ethan said, trying to pull his hand away, but I held fast. His words stung. "Is that all you see me as, Ethan? The untouchable rich lady? Your boss's wife?" I challenged, my voice shaking with raw emotion. "Please, tell me you see more." He lowered his head, his jaw tight, obviously holding back a torrent of unspoken words. The tension in the room was excruciating, far more frightening than the storm outside. "My life may look perfect," I continued, the pain intensifying, "but it is empty. I sit alone in a huge living room, listening to the clock tick. Tonight, I feel more alive just because you listened to me." Ethan slowly raised his head. His eyes met mine, filled with empathy, conflict, and undeniable yearning. I knew his feelings mirrored mine. He was struggling to deny it. I leaned in closer. The distance between us was now negligible. Only the sound of the rain and the frantic beat of our hearts separated us. "Ethan, do you truly feel nothing?" I whispered, challenging his honesty. He bit his lip, his eyes flashing with tortured indecision. I shouldn't, ma'am. It's wrong." Yet despite his verbal denial, his grip on my hand tightened, betraying his own words. I closed my eyes, savoring the agonizing mixture of guilt, fear, and forbidden joy. I felt like I was standing on a cliff edge, knowing one step would send me plummeting, yet the deepest part of me desperately wanted to jump. The thunder cracked again. My body instinctively pressed towards him. Ethan didn't move away. He simply allowed the distance between us to shrink even further. His breath was fast and heavy. I knew then. We were both holding on to something monumental, something that could destroy my life, yet something I secretly desired more than anything. I realized that the line I had protected for so long had utterly collapsed. We sat in a long, silent embrace, only the rain in our heartbeats filling the void. Ethan's hand was a warm anchor in the storm of desire. Suddenly, the familiar sound of an engine broke the silence. Headlights cut through the fogged window. My heart seized up. Alistair's Bentley. "It can't be. Quick, hide," I whispered frantically. Ethan looked at me, his face pale with shock and guilt. In seconds, he dashed across the small room, slipped into the tiny bathroom in the corner, and pulled the thin shower curtain shut. I forced myself back to the armchair, trying to smooth my dress and steady my breathing. The room door burst open with a jarring sound. Alistair Hawthorne entered. His raincoat was dripping, his hair slightly disheveled, but his gaze, Alistair's gaze, was sharp, cold, and instantly suspicious. "Why is it so dark? You should have found a better place than this, Alara," he complained, his tone flat, indicating annoyance rather than worry. "The power's out, Alistair. The storm," I replied, forcing a smile, but my hands were shaking in my lap. He gave a curt nod, dropping his expensive leather briefcase onto the old chair next to the sofa. I felt his eyes linger on me. Is he suspicious? Does he see the residue of the warmth I just felt? I looked down, pretending to adjust my dress. The air in the room became instantly colder, infused with Alistair's demanding presence. I sat rigid on the sofa, holding my breath. Alistair pulled out his phone, lighting up the screen, and sat on the bed, immediately busy typing. I prayed. I prayed that he wouldn't notice the slight movement of the shower curtain caused by Ethan's breathing. I prayed that the furious hammering of my own heart wouldn't be audible. Time stretched agonizingly slow. Every tick of the old wall clock was torture. I was terrified Alistair would suddenly rise, head to the bathroom, and find Ethan there. If he did, not only would my marriage be destroyed, but Ethan's life would be ruined by accusation and scandal. The fear was paralyzing. I felt trapped between two men, one a cold prison, the other a forbidden warmth. Alistair finally lay down, pulling up the thin blanket. "We'll leave first thing in the morning. I have an important meeting," he muttered, and within minutes, his breathing deepened. He was asleep. I let out a slow, silent exhale of relief, but the tension remained. I glanced toward the bathroom. The curtain was still, a thin wall separating Ethan from a colossal danger. Slowly, carefully, I rose. I crept toward the bathroom, making sure the old floorboards didn't creak. "Ethan," I whispered, barely audible. "He's asleep. Wait until dawn. I'll figure out a way for you to leave unseen." From behind the curtain, Ethan's tense eyes looked back at me. He nodded. I saw deep guilt there, mixed with relief. I returned to the sofa, sitting down and hugging my knees. The storm outside had finally begun to subside, leaving only a residual drizzle against the window. But the storm in my soul had reached its peak. I knew this game was too dangerous. I had risked everything, my life, my reputation, and Ethan's future for a fleeting moment of genuine connection. That night, I could only stare out the fogged window, listen to the remaining rain, and desperately wish for the strength to rebuild the walls that I had allowed to fall. I awoke with a pounding headache and a heart heavy with dread. Alistair was already gone. On the small table, a piece of paper, marked by his sharp, controlled handwriting. "Breakfast is set. I have a meeting. Don't wait for me. Ethan will drive you. A." I crumpled the note. Just instructions. No affection. No concern. Not even after the night we had just shared. I realized his only motive for coming to the inn was to ensure his assets, the car and his wife, were accounted for, not out of love. I went downstairs. The small dining table was neatly set with a cold breakfast. From the window, I saw Ethan in the inn's small parking area, meticulously cleaning the Bentley. His movements were precise, his face serious, purely professional. He maintained the immense emotional distance we had established the night before. It was as if our intimate conversation, the hand-holding, and the panicked hiding had never occurred. I wanted to call out to him. I wanted to ask, "Do you also feel this crushing emptiness now?" But I couldn't. I knew if I did, I would reopen a wound that needed to heal immediately. I stood behind the glass, watching him. Ethan was a sturdy back, a chauffeur performing his duty. I took a deep, shaky breath. I had to create distance, for both our sakes. In the following days, I actively avoided him. I called expensive ride shares. I asked my assistant to accompany me. Every time Ethan offered to drive, I had a ready excuse. "No need, Ethan. I just need a short walk." Or, "I have other plans today." The further I physically distanced myself, the deeper the emotional void grew. The Bentley, once a sanctuary, now felt alien without him. I missed his gaze in the rearview mirror, the comfortable silence he created,
the small attentions Alistair never offered. My nights became silent again. I sat in the vast living room, the crystal chandeliers blazing with light, but my heart felt darker than the night of the storm. Finally, I couldn't bear it any longer. I had to resolve it, painful as it might be. I devised a plan, a final, necessary contact. I deliberately left a crucial old map containing property documents which Alistair needed immediately in the back seat of the car, and called him. "Ethan, oh my goodness, I completely forgot. The Hudson Yards property map is still in the car. It's vital. Could you please bring it back to the house right away?" "Certainly, Mrs. Hawthorne. I'll be there shortly," Ethan replied, his voice formal and detached. When he arrived that afternoon, we met on the back terrace, away from the staff's sight. The New York evening was quiet, only the sounds of birds and the gentle breeze filling the air. "I sat down for a minute, Ethan," I said, holding the map, refusing to hand it over immediately. This was my last chance. "Ethan, why did you choose to be my driver?" I asked, repeating the old question, but with infinitely deeper emotion. He paused, looking down at his clean loafers. He looked up, his gaze filled with sorrow and truth. "But after that, I realized you were different. You never looked down on me. You saw me as a person. That meant everything to me." I froze, tears welling up. "Why are you so kind to me, Ethan? When I dragged you into such a compromising situation that night," I cried, the guilt overwhelming me. Ethan looked at me, his gaze tender, loving, yet profoundly sad. He said, "Because I knew you were lonely, Alara," using my first name. Hearing it from him shattered me. I only wanted to fill that void. I never asked for more. "I know the boundaries, ma'am. I know we can't be," he whispered, tears clouding his own eyes. But that night, in the dark motel room, I felt alive. And I must respect Mr. Alistair, not out of fear, but because I respect your position, and I respect myself. He took a deep breath, delivering the final, painful verdict. "The greatest love in this life, Mrs. Hawthorne, is sometimes not the love we hold on to, but the love we choose to let go of. Because letting it go is the way to protect our true happiness." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. I fully released the map, letting him take it. This was the necessary farewell, a sacrifice built upon the memory of a storm. Ethan didn't come to be mine. He came to remind me that true happiness wasn't in Manhattan or Alistair's wealth, but in a heart that dared to be truly present.